at the moment, so I am recording the session as of now. So look, folks, we'll have a chance to meet one another in a moment, but maybe it's an opportunity for me at this stage to explain to you a little bit about what we'll be doing for the next hour or so together. You're all here because of the fact that you're finding yourself increasingly having to do what we're all doing today, what we're all doing this morning, and that is sit and work with your clients in a completely different way. And look, it's certainly the case that as much as we are in the middle of probably one of the most challenging times for business that we've ever seen, in the middle of crisis comes opportunity. And if you look around at some of the biggest brands that we have in our landscape at the moment, Microsoft was set up in 1974 in the middle of the oil shock. Remember that? Well, I certainly don't remember it, but I've read about it, you know, from Bill Gates' family garage. And look at the global behemoth that it is today. CNN, believe it or not, in days when ad revenues were being hit, started broadcasting in the middle of the economic crisis of the 1980s. And if we look to 2008, which is probably the last time that we saw the global economy take a huge hit really across the board in the midst of the financial crisis, so many of the big tech brands that are with us today, Airbnb being one of them, Uber, Lyft, launched actually in the middle of the financial crisis. So with crisis comes opportunity, and those of you that seize that opportunity will be the ones who are positioned for growth. So thank you so much for taking the time to come along this morning, because an investment in these skills is absolutely an investment in positioning your company and your business for success over the course of the next 6, 12 and 24 months and beyond. A little bit of an introduction to myself. Some of you I have met already. This is a photo of myself and my lovely business partner, Sarah Travers. Together we are Bespoke Communications. I am a computer scientist by background, one of life's introverts. So this whole idea of standing in front of a camera, hosting meetings, standing up in front of a room, this is not my natural home. This is learned behavior for me. So it's something that I have had to do in order to, I suppose, achieve my life goals. Really, it's something I've had to invest in. It's not something that, you know, over the years would have been something that I would have naturally taken on. So hosting an event online can be a challenge, but it's something that you can learn to do with comfort and with ease to get the results that you want from that meeting. Computer scientist by background, studied computer science in UCD in Dublin. My first corporate job was with Mitsubishi in Tokyo, of all places. I took the opportunity to take a graduate job in Tokyo, and from there I moved to London, ended up working in the equity capital markets for a large number of years. And I suppose the lure of the bright lights waned a little bit once the children came along. So I'm now living on the beautiful north coast of Ireland, which is where I met my lovely business partner, Sarah Travers, who may be known to many of you from her days on BBC and UTV. So a broadcaster by background. I'm a business developer, she's a broadcaster, and together those skills really do marry up, and never more so than now when we're looking at this remote broadcasting environment in effect. It's certainly something where I learn from Sarah almost every day, and she picks up from me too in terms of what we need to be doing with these online presentations. So that's who we are. I will be recording the session today. I see that you're all on mute, which is great, keeps that background noise to a minimum. But please, if as I'm going through, just chip in, stick your hand up, butt in. I suppose, Tony, you're the only person whose hand I will see up, because Michelle and Amy, you don't have your video camera on. But if you want to chip in, please do jump in and ask questions if I'm not making sense. As I said, if at any point you're not comfortable with me recording, I'm very happy to pause that so it won't be part of the overall recording that comes from this session. So just be sure to let me know. Social media, if you're happy for me to share today's event, I would be delighted to do that on behalf of the Chamber after the session. If you don't want me to tag you, let me know as well. Otherwise, you'll see yourself tagged quite possibly in those images. I may take a screenshot. If I do, I'll let you know. I won't be taking it when you've got your Slack face on, so don't worry. I'll warn you if I'm going to take a photograph. Look, at the end of today's session, I'm going to come back to you and ask you, what's your one takeaway from the session? It's really nice if there's one thing that you take from the session today that you will then actually use straight away in your next meeting, and I'll come back to you and ask you what that is. So here's our agenda. I'm running through a little introduction now on how your course is actually going to work. I'm going to hand over to you now in a moment to let you say hello to one another. At the end of that, then I'll actually build in a little bit of time for Q&A. I'm sure there are burning questions that all of you have. So once we've introduced ourselves to one another, I'll ask you to hop on with that Q&A. Then we'll talk a little bit about first impressions on camera. How do you make sure that you create a great first impression in your next online meeting? And at the end of that, then we'll summarize and wrap up the session and give you the opportunity to take the mic and to ask me questions. At this point, can I ask if anybody has anything that they wanted to ask before we get going with the session? Okay, great. Right, beautiful image of an absolutely crashing wave in Portrush. That's my nearest beach, the East Strand in Portrush. So it's a beautiful image that I like to put up. But how is this course going to work for you? Well, look, this is a whole new medium, and I always go back to the 1960s when the politicians who were used to standing up at a podium in front of a church hall or in front of an assembly of people in a room, and they used to stand and bang on the podium, and it was that bombastic style of rhetoric that really got them their votes. Once the television came in as a medium, those politicians that were able to translate their delivery style into what was required from a television were the ones that won. So up here I've got an image of Harold Wilson, who is known as the TV Prime Minister because he got elected for 2 consecutive terms due to the fact that he was able to connect with people in their own homes across through a TV screen. He recognized that instead of banging on a podium and exhorting people and using that huge big speech style of approach, he really was having a conversation with his TV audience. You might recognize Harold Wilson more from his role in The Crown. I know that I'm looking forward to the next series of The Crown, but that image on the right was when he was visiting Queen Elizabeth. I think he was her favorite Prime Minister as well, it said. So look, the family were gathered around the TV. Just like that, you're actually connecting one-on-one with your audience potentially. A lot of the time they are still in work from home mode. They're not surrounded by their colleagues. So if you were in a face-to-face meeting, it's a very different environment. They are listening to you one-on-one. So it's the opportunity for you to engage with them that we really need to tap into here. So how the course is going to work is I'll spend an hour with you today. We'll run through some ideas that hopefully will help you with your next online meeting. I'm then going to sign you up for an online course, which over the course of the next week, it'll take you about 2 hours to work through that content. So there's 2 hours of additional content on top of today's session that you can delve into then to help you with your meetings. And then I'm going to ask you to use that to put together a sales pitch, and we're going to rehearse that together as a group when we come together next week on Tuesday, September 8th. I hope that's all good with everybody. So look, in terms of accessing that online course, it is online. You can literally access that from anywhere. You can sit on the sofa in the evening as you're watching the news and plug in your headphones and watch the videos there, download the PDFs, gather up all of the material there. You can literally listen to it when you're at the gym, or if you're cleaning the house, just plug in the headphones, stick your phone in your pocket. You can access the content from anywhere. So although it's 2 hours, it's broken up into chunks, so you can literally pull on it whenever you find a spare moment. It's quite convenient that way. So look, here's our chance for us all to introduce ourselves to one another. I'm going to ask you to say hello in a moment, but you know what? I'm going to actually introduce you to a nice little structure that you can use to do that. So if you imagine that this is a networking event that you've shown up to, an online networking event, how do you introduce yourself to the assembled audience in a way that's going to make them remember you? So you could sit there and say, hi, I'm Camilla and I'm the Director of Bespoke Communications. And really at the end of the meeting, nobody's going to remember who I am, what I do. So what approaches can you take to really try and make yourself memorable? Because somebody on there may well have a need for your services, and if they don't, they may well have somebody in their network who does. So it's what you say in that introduction that counts. And this little structure is something that I'll introduce you to you now, and we'll use this in a moment to introduce yourself. And it's the what, so what, now what structure. So if you're going to introduce yourself, explain what it is that you do, who you help with that, and how you help them. So who you help and the impact that you have on those people when you help them. And then end your little introduction with a call to action. So how they can connect with you, how they can reach you, what's the next stage that they can take if they're interested in what they're hearing. And here's an example of one that I worked with recently. So this was a company that had an innovative app that would help construction companies to visualize their work if they weren't physically on site. So in order to make that relevant and pertinent to what's going on in the world at the moment, we looked at the what, so what, now what structure. So the what, right now with travel restrictions in place and travel so unpredictable, it's delaying completions for construction companies like you. So what? Well, we offer augmented reality apps so that site managers can see work status without even having to go on site. And then the now what was, well, all we need to get you going is a CAD model or a BIM model of your site, and we can upload it into your software so you can see how it would work for you. Literally 3 short sentences that explains what that company does in a way that will make a connection. You could be conversational about that. So you know how right now travel restrictions are making work a nightmare for construction companies. Local lockdowns have made things very unpredictable. And I'm thinking here of the local lockdowns in the north of England. A lot of Northern Irish construction companies have work going on in those locations, and it's made travel for them really, really difficult. So the next stage is, you know how? Well, we offer augmented reality apps so that site managers can see the work status without having to be present on site. So all we need is da 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 da. You can see what I'm doing here. So you know how? Well, so it's a really nice structure to introduce yourself. A couple of things to think about. You really want to make that introduction nice and tight. About 30 seconds works, 2-3 sentences max. Otherwise, by the time you're finished, you'll have this guy on the other end of the phone. The audience will have just fallen asleep. So keep it nice and tight. Keep it to around about the 30-second mark. This really is your elevator pitch. And the whole idea of when we used to be able to stand beside one another in a lift, you change it from so to how exciting, tell me more. So somebody on the other end of that call is going to pick up on what you've said and look to connect with you after the meeting. So who's the hero of your elevator pitch? Who is the hero of that introduction? Is that you and all the help that you're giving to your clients? Actually, the reality is it's your client is the hero. So making that a client-centric introduction. A lot of the time if I ask somebody to introduce themselves, they'll say something like, well, we were founded in 1980 and we've won all these awards and such a client and this very important person is our client. You know what, having client names in there is good in your personal introduction, but a lot of the time what I'm hearing is a very company-centric way of introducing themselves. So if you think about how you help your clients and who it is specifically that you help and introduce yourself in that way, that's going to be a lot more engaging for your audience. Always come back to this acronym, WIFM. Any ideas on what that might be? What's in it for me? So your audience is sitting there thinking, right, I have this girl on the other end of this call with me. I have this guy here. What's in it for me? What have they got to say that's going to help me? So think of that WIFM acronym. Think of the headaches that you're solving for your clients when you're doing that personal introduction. And as you can see here, we're looking at quite a bit of jargon going on. So Michelle, I know in your industry, in the legal world, there's a lot of jargon that can be used. Get away from the jargon. This is not the time for any jargon. And if you're using bland words like, well, we offer an innovative solution, forget it. Nobody cares about innovative solutions. They only care about WIFM. What's in it for me? How can you help me? At the bottom, you can see somebody's gotten very posh with their lingo. We use an agile development methodology as an iterative approach to gathering user requirements. Probably would look nice in a brochure, but definitely not one for a personal introduction. So keep it conversational. Think about how you're going to introduce yourself using that approach. So I'm going to hand over to you. Have a little think about what I just said and let's hear who we've got in the room. Take a moment and I'll come back to you. Take about 30 seconds and I'll come to you and I'll hand over the baton to you guys. I've just popped that structure up on the screen again for you in case it helps. You know how? Well, so. Okay, if you're ready, or whether you're ready or not, here I come. Who would like to go first?
I go first.
Thanks, Tony. Thank you.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Tony Connolly. I'm the commercial manager for a company called Terramar. Terramar are a local company. We're based in Derry City. We have a team of about 20 people, and we provide services to organisations and companies who operate fleets of vehicles. So we know that running fleets of vehicles, operating teams of mobile people is a challenge, understanding what's happening in the here and now, and trying to learn how that information can be useful for future decision making. So at Terramar, we provide solutions to help. We use a mixture of vehicle-based hardware and online software to provide both live updates so that people are dealing with information that's accurate and reliable, but we also transform information we collect in real time into information that can be used to aid strategic decision making and make things better in the longer term. So all we need from you is an opportunity to make a demo of our online software. And if you're still interested, then we'd probably be happy to visit and work in a consultative way and probably install some equipment on a trial basis and work with you for a period of about a month. And hopefully at that point, the solution sells itself to you. So that's who we are, and it's going to be good getting to know you guys too.
Thanks, Tony. Nice job. Really conversational. Not one single bit of jargon in there, which is so important. How did that feel? Was that different to the way you would have done things normally?
It was a bit. I was sort of probably going on the overload mode a wee bit. Probably, honestly, felt it maybe just not so sincere as I would normally feel. I felt out of my comfort zone a wee bit, but at the same time, I see the value in it. It's something I did the course with Sarah last week, and
yes.
I've had a few stabs at the 30-second video, so I'm sort of in that mindset a wee bit of trying to get out of my comfort zone and try and. I suppose the fear is that you maybe come across a bit insincere. I suppose that's my fear, is that people might see through you, and I think for me to build good relationships, I rely on people trusting me and believing who I am, and I just need to make sure I get the balance right between delivering a really nice, concise pitch, but also one where people feel as if they know who I am behind it as well, I think.
100%, Tony. I couldn't agree with you more. And look, you are being pushed out of your comfort zone and you're doing things in a different way. So it takes time. It's kind of like you get a deck of cards and you throw them up in the air, and it just takes time for them to fall to the ground. Once you kind of get in on what it is that you need to do with these little devices, you'll find a natural way to do it that is true to yourself. I'm going to ask you, what is strategic decision making?
Well, for me, maybe that is a bit jargon. It's about decision making for the longer term. It's about modeling, I suppose, your business. It could be something like understanding better which vehicle types you should be choosing based on information that could be, for example, fuel consumption related. It could be maintenance cost related. So it's about moving someone from the here and now, who's near Roma, who can stop and collect something for me. What time will your man be back? Will he be on the boat? It's that sort of live decision making, which the benefits are pretty obvious, but the strategic stuff is more about, well, do you think we should buy more Ford Transits, or is a Toyota Hiace a better option for us? They seem to be lower cost per mile or something like that. So it's trying to guide people to take the data that we collect live, that's useful in the here and now, but we mold it into something that's a bit more informative over the longer term. So I always think about operational being yesterday, today, tomorrow, strategic being next month, 3 months, 6 months, you know, that's the sort of difference I'm trying to impart upon people, is that we'll work on both levels.
Well, that for me is far more conversational than hearing the word strategic decision making. So watch this video back, because you won't remember what you just said to me just now, and get the recording of this and fast forward to that bit and see how you could take the language that you've just used now to me, which is your language, Tony. That's how you would speak to, imagine that you've got somebody across the desk. They're the words that you would use. And can you build that into your elevator pitch?
Oh, fair point. I think I was conscious of the 30-second type thing as well, trying to ram it all in, but I take your point. I will do.
Yeah. So you know, straight away when I hear you, actually you're getting passionate about that, because you've seen how that helps your customers. You've seen how that has impacted on their bottom line. It's saved them costs. It's saved them time. It's saved them headaches. You know, once you started to talk like that, actually, you see that trust thing that you're talking about doing there, because that's you and because you believe in it. I can start to feel that there, you know, when you were talking to me. So do watch the video back and watch the two pieces there and see how you can get to a point where you're blending that personal touch into that elevator pitch, Tony.
Sure, I will do. Thanks.
But really nice. You were very conversational with your elevator pitch, and I love that you had a call to action at the end. That's something that a lot of people forget about. So thanks for that, and thanks for being the first to launch yourself at it. So Michelle and Amy, you've got the best to learn from there. How are you going to go about it? Who would like to go next?
I don't mind going next.
Yes, Michelle, it'd be great to hear from you.
I'm going to prerequisite this with I don't think I've ever done anything like this before. So
listen, that's why you're here. That is what would you be doing here if you were an expert, you know? And look, exactly. It's just a different way of thinking about stuff that you do naturally. You know what it is? It's all about, you kind of do it and you're not conscious about what it is that you're doing when you do it, when you make a personal introduction. This is about helping you to just move that little introduction to the next level so that it has the impact that you want. It gets you the business that you want. You stick in people's minds when you do introduce yourself. That's all we're doing here. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for being willing to do it.
Okay, thanks. So I'm Michelle Donnelly. I'm the Business Development Manager at Kavanagh Kelly. I think a lot of people just presume that Kavanagh Kelly is just an accountancy and an accountancy practice, and that we just do people's accounts, but that's not just how we support our clients. So we work with lots of different people, both in the public sector and the private sector, sole traders or massive corporations, and we support them through all their compliance work, but we also offer so much more, and can actually advise our clients, and do actually advise a lot of clients on like mergers and acquisitions, company reorgs, and even through financial and succession planning. We even support them in their when things aren't going great. So we have a business recovery and an insolvency practice, and we can support them through the best options on that as well. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say.
Fantastic. How do I reach out to you? Who's your ideal client? Who would you like to get? You're at a Derry Chamber event, so you've probably got local businesses on the call. Who would you want out of that group to come towards you as a client? Who's an ideal client for you?
So we would support clients from micro businesses right up to probably medium-sized companies. So we have lots of, farmers or small hairdressers, and then we go right up to bigger companies.
Right.
We have various teams that work closely with certain types of businesses, and we specialize in each of those areas.
Okay, I think I'd like to hear that, and I'd like to hear those actual examples. I mean, when I hear you talking about advising companies on mergers and acquisitions, I'm a small business of 2 people, and I might think, do you know what, they're too big for me. So if you were to even drop in and say, look, we work with farmers, we work with sole traders, like for example hairdressers and retailers locally here in the city, and we also work with, and you could, if you've got permission from clients to mention their names, well then you can drop that in, but give us an idea of the range of clients that you want would probably help me to understand how I fit into the world of Kavanagh Kelly.
Okay.
Really nice. I love that. I love that. You're talking about the fact that you can offer all of these services on top of your conventional accountancy services, Michelle. So, you know, you've done a really nice job there of giving me a sense of the range and breadth of the service offering.
Thanks.
So nice job. Very good. How can I get in touch? How do I become a client?
You can reach out to me, or you can reach out to any one of our partners. I mean, our contact details, everybody who works with the practice is actually on our website, right up from support staff right up to each of our partners, and all our contact details are on there, so you can reach out directly to them or to me.
And what would happen? Would you set up a call with me? Would you, what would you do to bring me on board?
Yeah, I think the initial chat would be the first thing that we would do. Try and identify where you would like our support. So whether it's just on the day-to-day accounts, or on your payroll or VAT, or if you have a bigger project in mind that we could support you with, then we'd be able to direct you to the best person who'd be able to support you through it.
So I think there you can just let me know. That's now what? That's the now what bit. How do I get in touch if I like what I hear? So you can reach out to any of us. All of our contact details are wide open up on our website. Or in fact, I'd love to hear from you, and we'd set up a call or a meeting to find out what we could do for you.
Yeah.
Nice one. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
And then there was one, Amy.
Yes. So,
Amy, it's nice to kind of be connected with you. We've spoken on the phone in the past. So
yes.
actually we were in at the Portrush Atlantic last week, Sarah and I. We're in that lovely room up at the back. Fabulous for social distancing, by the way. Tons and tons of space. So we had a great time. Natasha really looked after us.
Oh, great. Brilliant. That's good to hear. So my name's Amy, and I'm sales manager at the City Hotel and the Portrush Atlantic Hotel in Portrush. You know how travel restrictions are in place and holidays are limited. Well, we offer staycations for couples and families and a base to explore the North Coast and Donegal. So connect on our Facebook pages for offers and information.
Short and sweet and to the point. Nice one, Amy. Now, if I'm asking you if we're actually at a Derry Chamber event, what would be the offer that you would have for businesses in the city?
Sorry?
What would be the offer that you would have for businesses in the city? So if you imagine you're at a chamber event and you've got pretty much a business audience in front of you, right now, what can you do for these businesses, given all of the things that are going on? What's special about the city or Portrush Atlantic?
One-stop shop to visit both the North Coast and Donegal areas. So a good base that you can position yourself to visit the surrounding areas of the Causey Coastal Route and the Donegal area. We can where both hotels are in a position to host events as well for the likes of the Donegal and North Coast areas. So we have the space in both.
That's the bit that I think I need to tap into here. So if I'm a business owner, that's the bit that I'm going to want to hear about, because if I'm local, I'm unlikely to want to stay. So let's get into that event side of things. Right now, are you seeing a particular trend going on with people booking events? Are companies booking your space because they don't have space internally to host events? Is there anything in particular that you're seeing that's, because let's face it, we're in COVID right now and people are in the here and now. What's really particularly going to get them to come and do business with you at this particular moment in time?
Yeah, we have offered our space for, as you said, the likes of businesses that can't maybe host it in their current working space environments. But also at the minute, we're finding a lot of companies that have massively reduced the size of their events they're looking to host. Events as such as they were previously aren't really in play at the minute. It's more of training exercises that they don't want to have in their current businesses, or maybe small breakout sessions that they were looking to have. But in terms of the City Hotel, we have a dedicated conference floor. So our main ballroom can hold up to 350 people. We've got 7 syndicate rooms as well. So it is a very good space for the likes of companies that maybe are a wee bit cautious about maybe crashing into other businesses, or want to have something completely private, and they have the space there to do a social distance manner, because although this the ballroom can hold up to 250 people, with a risk assessment we are comfortably sitting at 150 people in the ballroom.
I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing,
Yeah.
to be able to do that. So look, being aware of your audience and thinking, what does this audience need to hear from me? I think that's probably where your businesses are at right now. I know for us in the Atlantic last week, we were working with a business who wanted to, they wanted to come together for a training session, and typically they would have had the space internally, but they couldn't bring together the number of people that they wanted to bring together and still stick to social distancing guidelines. So consequently, that fabulous massive room at the back of the Atlantic Hotel was, you know, a brilliant venue for them. And they were willing to expend the budget on that because, you know, they had no option. So those are the types of things right now, at this very moment in time. How can you help somebody who's in bother, and what can you offer that's going to, you know, give them peace of mind, I suppose?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
So as same as you said there with the Portrush Atlantic Hotel, we do have the space in the entrance suite and the restaurant, which is really good breakout area for
Totally.
lunches as well, which can be done socially distanced as well. So it is something that we have before COVID kind of really massively broke, and just now that everything's kind of settled down a bit, that we could offer the space for any meetings that couldn't be held in-house for companies, that if they did need the bigger room and space, or if they wanted something different that they knew that they could safely book it with ourselves, that we were following guidelines, we had all the new health and safety procedures in place, and that we were following government guidelines. So it's kind of like the line that we're going down for the conference side of things, although we're not actively overly promoting it at the minute, because just need to be aware of the changes that are, like,
yeah, well look, in 5 minutes literally things can change, but you know what, if you're putting up social media videos, it's about today, it's not about next week, it's about right now. And so the guidelines right now are whatever they happen to be. I mean, all I'm aware of, I'm only allowed 6 people in my house. You'll know what you're allowed to do in a hotel. But Amy, I would suggest you watch back this recording and listen to the difference in your tone of voice, even when you're talking about what companies are doing right now and how you're helping them, versus trotting me out that pre-prepared spiel that you did at the beginning. You sound passionate, you sound committed, you sound interested. I think a little bit like Tony said, when you're talking about something that matters to you, it comes across in your tone of voice. And there's a lesson in that for us all. So pick up on that.
Yep.
So really nice. Look, thanks very much everybody for doing that. I'd like to ask at this stage, I'd like to hand over to you. At this point, what is your biggest challenge? You're all in the business of getting new business. What's the biggest challenge for you? And if you want, I can stop the recording. I can pause the recording for this point. I'm happy enough to do that, just whilst we, you know, in the interests of being open and honest, you know, what's the thing that's causing you bother?